Hello friends! Welcome back to another episode of Reddit's ProRevenge. In this episode, you'll hear what happens when you cheat a nice person on Craigslist, why you shouldn't mess with group projects, and a dishonest vice principal getting what he deserves. I hope you stay for the stories today, and subscribe for future videos. This story is titled, Kid Tried to Flip the Motorcycle I Sold Him Using My Photos. I Blew Up His Phone. 2 years ago, I sold a motorcycle on Craigslist. The guy who bought it was an early 20s guy who didn't bring any riding gear with him. Said he'd left it at home and saw my ad while he was at work. I rode the bike back and forth down the street for him so he could check it out. He said it sounded fine. Long story short, I let him talk me down $100 because he seemed like a nice kid. I rode the bike to his sister's house for him, had my wife follow and pick me up. The next day, it's back on Craigslist for $500 more than what I was asking, using my pictures. Now, I'm a professional photographer. I've had my photos on magazine covers. I was okay with the shithead kid conning me and flipping the bike, but not with using my pictures. So I sent him a text telling him to take the ad down and post his own damn pictures. He didn't. So, I posted my own Craigslist ad that said something like, free chickens and goats. The description was, I'm old and tired and I think it's time to quit. I've got 600 hens and enough roosters to keep them laying. Also, 40 milk goats. I just want to make sure they go to a good home. First come, first serve. Send me a text. If I don't respond right away, call me. And I posted his phone number. I waited a day, called from my home phone at 9:30 at night. Hello? He sounded tired. I said, I'm calling about the chickens. He responded, ain't no chickens at this number. I'm not selling chickens. I waited half a second, then said, what about goats? He yelled into the phone that there were no goats either, then hung up. The next day, he texted me, told me he'd changed the pictures, and asked if I could please take down the ads for the chickens. I thanked him for taking down my photos, and asked him what the hell he meant about the chickens. This story's titled, Leech Tried to Fail Me, Gets Suspended. Backstory. This happened a few years ago when I was at school. I was 14 at the time. Every year, our class teacher teams up the students into pairs to have them do group projects for the rest of the year. Unfortunately, I was paired with this guy named Dick. Now, Dick was such a Richard that nobody wanted to be in the group with him. He was the leech of the class, a class clown who couldn't even make funny jokes if he tried. And worst of all, he did no work of his own until the last minute, and was pro at cheating and copying during exams. Unfortunately, he had managed to fool the teachers into thinking that he was good, albeit lazy student. I had no doubt that I was in for a rough year of doing group projects all by myself. Right off the bat, Dick did his absolute best to do no work, and since I was a pushover, I ended up doing 100% of the work. I tried bringing it up with my physics teacher a few times, but I was told that unless I had proof, she couldn't mark him indifferently. I had a strict family, so I didn't have a phone of my own at that age, and had to use my mom's phone to interact with Dick. All of our talks happened via calls, and my mom's phone didn't have the option to record calls, therefore there was no proof. Apparently, Dick came to know that I tried to rat him out, so he tried to pull a fast one on me. He called me up during one project and told me to give him the PowerPoint presentation via USB the next day so he could include his own additions. I, like the idiot I was, did it, thinking that Dick had finally turned over a new leaf and was gonna help with the project. Turns out, he wanted revenge on me for telling on him by editing out my name for the credits and using all my work for his own. I was shocked when we were called to present and I saw the opening slide. Instead of having my name and his name, he deleted my name completely and he used my work for his own. Dick went on to tell the teacher that I did no work, and I had to stand there embarrassed because I knew that arguing in front of everyone would have just made things worse. After a lot of arguing and almost crying after class, I managed to convince the teacher not to fail me. She agreed, but said that I would get lower marks for said project than Dick. The last I saw of Dick that day was him wearing a giant smile on his face. I'd had it. The revenge. I came up with an amazing plan for the next project. As our project came closer, I called Dick and told him that I didn't mind doing the entire project as it was my favorite subject, which is the truth because physics was one of the classes I absolutely loved. He readily agreed, although I told him I'd be making separate PowerPoints for the both of us, my part in the first and his share in the second. I told him I'd simply included a video in his PowerPoint so he didn't need to read it to prepare himself. Instead, I prepared my part diligently and began to create his worst nightmare. Instead of the explanatory video on, ironically, friction and forces, I included a video from an adults-only website that had the actors getting right to it from the beginning, if you catch my drift. As expected, Dick didn't recheck his part, which was a good thing. Time to let it play out. The next day, when we went to class, I asked Dick to come with me to the teacher to tell her that we had separate PowerPoints. He agreed. To make it clear to my teacher that I had nothing to do with this messed up PowerPoint, Dick himself explained the situation to our physics teacher. Unsurprisingly, she agreed. I flawlessly presented my part, save for a few stutters here and there because of my nervousness and excitement. As soon as I said, "Now Dick will show you a short video that will educate you on how forces and frictions work in everyday life, blah blah blah," I quickly stepped away and waited for hell to unleash while Dick swapped my USB for his and started his PowerPoint. The next few minutes were amazing. As soon as Dick started the clip, everyone went slack-jawed, including him. The volume was turned up pretty loudly, and you know how those videos can be, right? A lot of noises that generally aren't made for public to hear. My physics teacher was too stunned to turn off the computer. I swear, if a student hadn't recovered in time, my classmates would have seen a pretty explosive climax eventually, if you catch my drift. Dick was frozen as our teacher yelled at him. Everyone thought that this was his joke for forces and friction. Keep in mind that he was the class clown. Eventually, he was let out and taken to the principal's office for his behavior. Soon enough, it became the talk of our school. Everyone gave Dick dirty looks as he entered the school the next day with his parents. I felt sorry for his parents being humiliated like that, but not too sorry. Suffice to say, Dick was quickly given an indefinite suspension for the rest of the school year. He had to attend summer school and had an absolutely shitty reputation for the rest of his years at school. I don't think he ever spoke to me after that. This story's titled, "She Kept the Receipts and Got the Vice Principal Removed from His Job." My best friend, Karen, is a first grade teacher, and as soon as she told me this story, it gave me such a justice boner that I knew I had to retell it here. 2 years ago, Karen had a student named Xavier, sweet little 6-year-old boy when things were good, but his parents had just gotten divorced. His mom wasn't that great even before she was out of the picture, and his dad was quite disengaged from both his son's behavior and his education. Rather understandably, Xavier acted out in class. He refused to listen to Karen, he pushed other kids, and disrupted the class in more ways than I could possibly list. Now Karen worked her ass off with Xavier to improve his behavior, and to get his dad more involved in a positive way. She'd often call me to talk about it to decompress because that's what friends were for. But occasionally, Xavier went too far and did something she couldn't deal with in class, like trying to shove a sharpened pencil into another student's hand. On those occasions, she wrote him up with a referral and sent him to the vice principal. But surprise, surprise, vice principal was absolutely no help whatsoever. He'd joke around with Xavier, refused to address the problem that Karen sent Xavier there for, and gave him candy. Then, he would lecture Karen for writing up a 6-year-old boy for any reason because it reflected badly on the VP. I'm pretty sure this has to do with the bullshit known as merit pay, but whatever. Unfortunately, his actions made it significantly harder for Karen to help Xavier. To top it all off, Karen figured out, after a few referrals, that VP logged into the system and erased each of Xavier's referrals, thus erasing all evidence of Xavier's pattern of behavior. In a word, this is bad. I know nothing about education, but damn well know that much. My brother was a complete monster in elementary school and got in so much trouble from the 3rd to 6th grade that both the principal and the vice principal were on a first-name basis with my mom. Those records sure didn't disappear. Neither did they go to the shredder, and certainly not from digital ether. Karen reported this to her higher-ups, who weren't VP, but they both told him about the complaint and specified that Karen was the one making the complaint. VP was cold and rude to her after that. Nothing was done about it because it seemed to be a one-time thing. But now, Karen knew what to do. Every time she had to write up Xavier again, which blessedly happened less as the year went on, she meticulously documented everything herself. She sent herself all the relevant info, saved the emails, the whole shebang. By the end of the year, Xavier's behavior had greatly improved thanks to her mentoring and the various ways she learned how to engage with him in the classroom. She even talked to the 2nd grade teacher to make sure this woman knew how to work with Xavier. Karen went above and beyond for this child. Partway through the next school year, the higher-ups came to talk to Karen again. Even though nothing was done about her complaint the previous year, a record had been made of it. As it turns out, another teacher had reported the VP for doing the exact same thing to her as he had done to Karen. If she had anything related to her own ordeal, they wanted to see it. And oh boy did she ever. She gave them every single digital receipt that she had accumulated for the better part of the school year to compare with the VP's, establishing a pattern of him undermining teachers by erasing students' patterns of behavior. The VP was quickly removed from his position as the vice principal. Even though he wasn't technically fired, he was just moved to a different school and put in a much lesser position and paid significantly less than before. Hey friends, I hope you enjoyed these stories today. If you want to submit your own stories, my Discord server is in the link below. Also, if you aren't subscribed, hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications so you don't miss future stories. See you guys in the next one.